What's up, family? You are now tuned into the All In Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Jenkins. And today, fellas, come on in the room. Fill the room up. Fill the room up. Fill up the room. We need to talk today. We talk every time we hear, but we need to talk today because now it is time for you to win. I want you to take that in. It's now your time to win. It's time for you to win. Like, let that repeat in your mind. It's time for you to win. And I'm not talking about getting that new promotion. I'm not talking about your career. I'm not talking about money. I'm not talking about leveling up. I'm talking about community. It's time for you to win. A lot of us men have been doing the solo thing for so long, rocking with ourselves, doing our thing, being a lone wolf. And it seems cool. It seems all good. But you'll never know how much more you'll thrive in community. You'll never know how much more life you'll get without community, right? And for many men have maybe built a business, built a life for themselves, right? And it's been them and they've been doing it, that lone wolf journey, right? And it's not to say that you can't be resilient and grow through your struggles and become more resilient and confident as you grow and do all the things that you need to do for your life. We're not taking away from that. But there are some things you can accomplish quite faster with community. When you have brothers to hold you accountable, when you have brothers together in arms, praying, fasting, teaching, giving wisdom, sharing wisdom, coming together, having a strong camaraderie, you'll never know how much further along you'll get at such a quicker pace until you're in community. Might I add the right community, not just being in any community, but the right community, because we know that you can be in the wrong place. Sometimes some of us, we need to deal with those issues inside because sometimes we want community so bad to the point where we're not in the right community. But as long as we're in community, that's what matters. Don't allow yourself to be in a place where you're getting cut up and put on a back burner and dealt with terribly, all because you say, man, at least I got somebody, because that won't be healthy for you. And so something important to remember when it comes to community, because I know it's a badge of honor for a man to be alone, and that seems cool in the male perspective, right? To get it out the mud, do it all yourself, never need any help. And so we need to know that community does not make you weak, right? But one important thing that we need to deal with is our own internal issues, because the reason why a lot of men can't fathom really connecting what community or brotherhood is because of trust issues. And where a lot of those trust issues stem from, it comes from your father, whether you had him in your life or you didn't, right? Those abandonment issues, those fathers that antagonize you, right? Those fathers that constantly are critical of you or made you feel bad about yourself, or they're in and out of your life, all of these different things. And we get to the point where we start dealing with rejection. And you don't want to be close to anybody because you feel like they're going to reject you. Or if you mess up, they're going to reject you. Or they're going to be critical of you. Or they're going to think that I'm not a man. Or I can't handle things right. I'm still a child. So I keep this barrier up and not around too many people because I don't want them to see the things that I'm still dealing with. That's why I say we need to be in the right community. And some communities can help you grow and deal with those issues, right? We have to deal with the trust issues, right? Now, let's start off heavy. I can be honest. I've had some people around me that we've had personal conversations, talked about things, had discussions, and I found out, man, they were talking to somebody else about this thing that was supposed to be between me and them. There were certain things I told them that they found their way in the air. They were kind of aired out. And it just threw me off because I'm like, oh man, I didn't expect that to be from you. Maybe somebody else, I'm like, yeah, I could see how that's possible. But there were some people on both sides where I was just like, man, like, I didn't think you would do it to me, but we always think we're the ones that it's not going to happen to, right? It's just, you can't do that to me because our bond is so tight and everything is so great. And that could have stopped me from valuing community. I could have been like, man, you know what? I got somebody I could trust and maybe somebody else, but the way that these people broke my trust, I don't even know if I want to tell anybody anything else, because I don't want them over here telling my information or talking about me or talking down on me or all of these different things. I don't want to be a part of that. And so for some men, we have to let go of this idea of nobody's trustworthy. There are people that's trustworthy. Because here's the funny thing. If you consider yourself somebody trustworthy, there has to be somebody else out there trustworthy. But I think that the men who know they do things like gossip or brag or talk about certain things that they do for other men and all of those things, you need to deal with yourself. As men, we should not be around gossiping about anybody, for that matter of fact, but about another brother or talking about his business to another friend or those things. I'm not a perfect person by far, but as far as to my knowledge, I have never slighted a brother or told their business or played them out in a sneaky, sly way. It's just not me. That's just not who I am. I'm a guy who's all for everybody, right? I'm not all for myself. I'm not ego driven. I'm not prideful. And glory to God, because, even though I wasn't that way before Christ, that's just not who I am. But I was never that type of guy, right? I'm the type of person, if you tell me a secret, if we fall out, that secret stays right where you left it. It's nobody's business, right? It doesn't matter how much I helped you or we were tight and we rode together for a long time. Just because we fall out or you get mad at me, cut me off, or I stop talking to you because of whatever, or we just decide we go our own ways, that doesn't now mean I get to use your information as ammunition or just talk about you. It's nobody's business but mine. In this place where it never leaves. I'm just not that type of person to be bringing up people's information. Like, it's none of nobody's business. That's why they told you. So if you find yourself gossiping or talking about other people or saying things that somebody told you in secret, but you reveal it to other people, we got to stop that. These are the type of things why, these are the type of issues why in a community of men, we can't find a good bond or good trust or good camaraderie, because those small seeds of discord that are sown, talking about other people, telling other people's business, not really being somebody worth trusting. And so you have to really deal with that. Why do you have to go and tell people's business? Why do you feel as though you can just say something that somebody told you about as if it's your own business? Like, why? And so we really have to look at those things, right? And so just to know that it's your time to win. You'll find growth in your community. You'll thrive in your community. You'll begin to see this is a weight that I don't have to carry by myself. I don't have to carry it. And so a lot of times we want other people to step up, and sometimes other people do need to step up, but more of us have to be an example to support men. We often want support, but some of us have some things inside of us that want to see men help, that want to see men supported, that want to see spaces for men. You can go and create a space to support men or help men or build up men. Why not you be an example for that? A clean example. Not an example that's going to create something that's going to spew hate out towards everybody else because of the pain that men have dealt with or is dealing with right now. No. Build a clean, proper space for men to grow, to be supported. Be an example. More of us men have to step up today and be an example. There are too many of us that are sitting on the sidelines waiting for something to happen, waiting for somebody to create something. And some of us need help while others need to be creating the help and becoming the example. Is one thing I hear some men say: men need safe spaces and environments to really grow and talk about certain things and men don't really have those spaces. And if I can be honest, working in this space, that's true, but also two things can be true. And on the other side of that, I believe that as men, we got to get to the point where we stop wanting to live in that victim mentality, living in victimhood. Constantly wanting somebody to feel sorry for us because men need help and nobody cares about men, and where's the support for men? Because when I see people or organizations creating space for men, building something for men, we don't show up. Can we be honest? We don't show up. And some men do, but not a lot of men show up. And maybe it's reaching the men who aren't ready to do the work or ready to see a change or want some help. I don't know. But if I can be honest, while there aren't many spaces for men, the spaces that are cultivated, a lot of men don't show up. Somebody throws something, maybe, the people that are close and connected to that person maybe show up and support. Or maybe one or two other people. And it's not to say that these spaces have to be humongous, but what I am saying is just clear cut that we have to be willing to do the work and we have to be willing to show up. We can't keep talking about how there are no spaces for men, but we don't show up to the space. We have to show up. And I talk about this all the time. I'm not saying that you have to go out there, spill your guts and tell all your business. You have to be comfortable enough to trust the people around you. I think that, for men, we should have at least 2 to 3 solid friends that are close friends, but we should also have a community, right, of men that are around us, right? Because you don't have to be close to every single person, but there are going to be some people you're closer to than others. You might be closer to more. That's okay. Everybody's life looks different. But I think it's important that we get into community so that we can thrive and grow the way that we need to, man, because it's time. Men are lonely. Men are going through it. Men are offing themselves. Men are trapped by pornography. Like, there are so many things that men are dealing with that they need help with. But when does the point come to when you reach out for the help? Even if the arm reaches out to you, you grab the arm. When do we do that? Right? And so I don't want you to feel any way because, like I said, well, at the end of the day, we're going to feel what we feel. But two things can be true. Men, we have to show up. We have to be willing to do the work. But also, we do need more spaces cultivated, which is why this space exists. And so that's very important. And so we need to know that community does not make you weak. Community is strong, right? So when we often isolate ourselves, we think that makes us powerful. And I'm not talking about people who maybe have to withdraw a little bit to get themselves together when things get tough or some things happen. But a lot of times we think that isolation is the only answer to becoming powerful. When in actuality, there's strength in numbers. There's a brother you can get wisdom from. There's a brother that can walk with you through hard times. There's a brother that can fast for you, pray for you. There's a brother that can say, listen, bro, I'm gonna just come over. We could just chill. Or it's a brother that'll bring you some food and be like, yo, what you want to eat today? It's on me. Like, I know you like coffee. Let's go get some coffee, bro. This your sport. All right, let's play. Let's just, you know what I'm saying? Let's go for a walk. Let's go for a hike. Let's do something. Right. And one of the biggest issues that I have is that as men, we don't understand why we don't have resilience in some ways. Right. But when we look at women, we often see women come together and support each other very heavily. We often talk about the whole birthday things, but whether it's a birthday, whether the friend is celebrating a new milestone, whether the friend has a new apartment or they have issues with their spouse or their boyfriend or family issues, women come and show up and support each other. Not to say that we have to operate exactly like women, but in this way, as men, we have to show up for each other. We have to be willing to come together and support our brother. Yo, bro, what you need? You good? Women often, you know, maybe bring flowers for their friend or bring some fruit or something to cheer them up, or their favorite drink or something to eat. Girl, you got this. You're going to get through this, girl. Once this is all over, the world ain't going to even know the old, let's say Alicia, right? The world ain't going to know the old Alicia. You're about to be bigger. You're about to be better. Girl, you're about to kill him. I don't know what women say all the time, right? Maybe I could think of it, but it's loose for me right now because I'm not in the groups. But the empathy and the support that women show each other, we as men need to show each other that support. And it's not going to look exactly how women do it, but it's going to look the way it looks when men do it. And do I think we should talk about some of the things we go through and have a certain emotional openness? Yes. But we need to cultivate the space for us to be able to do those things, right? Because I feel like for men, it's like, it can be more layers, but I think about it like this. When we think about being transparent, we think like this is the stuff right here that we don't usually talk about. Then there's the surface, but then there's another layer under that surface that we call transparency. And it's like, we just want to take the topmost layer off and talk about this part of the layer right here when there's things that we need to talk about right there. And that's very important because you have no idea how much stress and how much weight it would take off your back when you can finally open up to a brother or have a discussion with a brother. Because we know oftentimes in these spaces, all it takes is one man to talk about his struggles or what he's going through. And then the rest of the guys open up, or most of them say, you know what, me too, bro. Me too. I said this before. One of my bros was having a men's get together. Shout out to my boy Davion. He had a get together, and there was a lot of men around, and we were having a conversation. And the one thing I said that I believe resonated with many men is that oftentimes, we show the world Superman, right? We show our brother Superman. We stay super surface. We talk about, I'm all good, bro. I'm surviving. I'm chilling. Everything good. Everything good with the family. We say, I'm doing good. I'm pretty good. I'm chilling. I'm smooth. When deep down inside, you're not, right? And it's not to say that it's the worst, but it's different levels. Everybody has, we all have different levels of how good we're doing, how bad we're doing, right? And oftentimes we show Superman because our main thought is, man, if I begin to show my brothers or this brother Clark Kent, and you see my struggles, you see my issues, you see all the things that I'm dealing with, that I have done, that I'm going through, would you begin to treat me like Clark Kent, or would you still have the respect for me as you would if you would have never known any of that and just know my Superman? Would you still respect me? How would you start treating me if I told you that I'm insecure, that's why I never try to talk to women, or I've had a long history or battle with pornography, or my mother curses me out, my mother cursed me out when I was younger, so now when I talk to women, sometimes I tear up because it reminds me of that. How would you begin to treat me? Right? Now, these are just examples. This is not me personally, but how would you begin to treat that brother? Because oftentimes we have to pull ourselves into reality. I think a lot of times we think that how we start to think or how we start to feel is true. And it's like, okay, a part of you might judge something or somebody, right? But I think the mature thing to do is not to sit in the judgment, but the mature thing is to realize that you have your own issues. At any day, a situation could be you, and you are not perfect. And this reminds you to stay humble and to have empathy for your brother and understand, like, man, you going through it, man. I can understand. How can I help you with that, bro? Is there anything I could do? You know what I'm saying? Like, yo, let's talk more. Or if you know you have tools to help them, like, bro, like let's have a talk. Let's link up sometime. Let's you know what I'm saying? Like, let's kick it and let's work through that. Because my mother was a little crazy too. She didn't go that far, but let me tell you how I worked through it. And it's strength in numbers. One thing I always say, not that I've always said it, but something I recently said last week while I was on an interview: wars aren't won independently. They're won together. And so oftentimes we think that the war that we're going to win is us by ourselves and we're going to plow through it. But what happens when you have a whole army behind you? A king, a master can give orders, but it's up to the numbers to get the orders done. And so we have to remember that, right? Again, I mean, next thing, we weren't meant to do life alone. We were not meant to do life alone. One thing that I always emphasize is that oftentimes in the world, people brag about not wanting to be around people or not liking people. And if you ever watch a TV show or a movie where somebody's on an island all alone or by themselves, or the humans have went extinct because they were killed off or something like that, and there's one person left, pay attention to those shows. Go watch a show like that. What starts happening? The human mind, as creative as it is, begins to put together the thought or scenarios of people, whether it's a tree, whether it's a mannequin, whether it's just in your mind, because we are a social species. We were made for community. We were not made to just be alone, right? And we thrive. Man, it's good for a man to be strong, but we really thrive in packs. We thrive when we have a crew. We thrive. You know, what was it like when you were in high school and all your boys were together and y'all would do something together, and it took teamwork, and y'all was like, yeah, we got through this adversity, even if it wasn't serious, whether it was a team sport, whether it was outside of school, whatever it may have been. And some of us probably can't relate because it might be some of you out there who may have been solo, and you might be like, I didn't necessarily, ever have that experience. But I think that even just having one or two friends can drastically change your life. But it's more about the right friend, right? The right friend, the right community, and that's very important. Two next points. Our shared struggles build brotherhood, right? So we often think that we're going through things alone, and we're not. There are other brothers that are crying silently inside of their soul. They want to rest. They want to feel like, I'm not the only one dealing with this. I'm not the only one carrying something. And as much as we would like to play it off and act like it doesn't exist, I think what really gets me is when I see testimonies by men that were about to off themselves, and they talk about, or the ones who have, right? And the documentary or video comes out later and they leave a note. They often talk about how they don't want to live with the pain or the struggle anymore. But what about if more men, more of us had one another to reach out and connect with one another? How different then would it be? How many more men would be alive if we were just honest, if we actually opened up about our struggles? Sometimes one person has to take a risk. And sometimes you just have to be all right within yourself. You know what? Nobody's perfect. Everybody else around me, they're probably at a good season in their life right now. But at some point in time, everybody goes through. So I'm going to say something that many men can relate to. I'm going to tell somebody what I'm going through or what my struggles are. And let's see let the chips fall where they may, right? Not saying that you give out every little thing, right? But piece by piece, you have to read the room and know what's appropriate to give and what's not appropriate to give, or safe to give, right? And I think one thing that has been very popular over the years is, men crying, right? And I think it's important to cry because you don't know the stress that you will relieve from that. I remember it was hard for me to cry, but God opened up the door for me to begin to learn how to release, right? I think I told this story on one of my other podcast episodes. And I talked about how at first, when I gave my life to Christ, I was like, God, I feel like crying, but guess what? I ain't doing that. I'm a G. Won't do that. I'm from the hood. Like, I'm a man. Like, I'm not doing that. And lo and behold, one day I was just going through so much and I broke. And the Lord just broke me like, this is what you need. And it's not to say I cry every time I'm praying, but it's a great release, either when I'm praying or just throughout the day. If something is heavy, I'm not going to lie. It's not easy for me to cry. It's times when I want to just let out something, but it just doesn't come. It's just like I don't know. It's a battle. It's such a learned behavior because men, we're just not used to it. Because sometimes I feel a strong boo-hoo cry coming, and what I'm used to as being a man, my body just clenches up like, nah, we ain't finna ugly face cry. We ain't finna do that. But sometimes all alone by yourself, that is what you need, right? And so it's important that we have safe spaces, right? I talked about that already. We have to have safe spaces because a lot of us men, we lack emotional intelligence and we think that we have no emotions or we lack emotions, but we don't. We just lack the understanding of our emotions and awareness of them and how they manifest. And we often think that we're cold-hearted or heartless because we've repressed our emotions. When you repress an emotion and push it down for long enough, you eventually think you don't have it anymore, you don't feel it, or it's non-existent. And that's not the truth. That is not the truth. But when you do some deeper digging, you realize you repressed emotions because it either wasn't safe to feel those emotions or you didn't like feeling like that anymore, or you didn't like the feeling of having to need somebody or something and not get that thing, right? And so one of the things I talked about was how women show up versus how men show up, right? And that's one thing that I want to get into as we close, right? So when we look at women for their emotional expression, right, they're often open and encouraged. For us, we often, like I said, we repress and redirect it towards somewhere else. When it comes to support, they are more empathetic, nurturing, and they reassure one another, right? They give encouragement. For us, we turn to practical humor. We turn to practical help. We throw some humor in there. A lot of times we throw humor in there. And humor is medicine, right? That helps us as men. That's something we enjoy. Oftentimes what helps us as men is sometimes we just want somebody to be there, right? And you don't have to say anything or try to fix anything. Just be with me in this moment. Like Job had friends. If I'm not mistaken, the Bible said his friends just came and sat with him. I think it was either a day or like a whole week. They didn't say anything. They just came and sat with him. That is the ministry of presence, right? Presence means a lot. Because sometimes, man, it's certain moods we be in. We don't want to air out everything or say everything. We just want to sit with our thoughts and work through and just be at peace and come to peace. But sometimes we just like, whether it's our wife or our girlfriend or even a brother, to just be with us, to just be. Not having to talk it out, work it out, say a whole bunch, but just to be, right? And so for social norms, right, for women, it's often celebrated for forming close bonds, right? So they're celebrated for coming together. And, whether you see a talk show, whether you see an Instagram page dedicated to women or helping women. And that's another episode we're going to talk about how women go after self-improvement a little more in certain ways rather than men and earlier. And often, again, why they're further along in certain things than more men, right? But they're celebrated for forming those close bonds. For men, right, it's often shame for us to open up because we were taught, man up. Men don't cry, boys don't cry. You need to be tough. So we built this exterior where we act like nothing bothers us, nothing phases us, everything rolls off like a duck. When in reality, it's something else. It's pain added to our memory bank of our mind, our emotions, or our body in a sense. And we feel like we shrug it off, but really it's deposited. But it's like we just shrug it off. But subconsciously it's deposited, because when you begin to let things out and address things, you see that, man, I didn't know that hurt me. So when it comes to community, they naturally seek out and they build circles. We often need permission or intentional invitation. We often wait until an invite comes or somebody has something that says, hey, bro, pull up here. While women, they look for help. They look for community. They look to come together. They look to be encouraged. They look to tell each other they look good, or they're going to do good, or girl, you bad, or girl, you killing them, or girl, you got that 6-figure role. Okay, girl, get to the money, all that type of stuff. They look for it. But we oftentimes, we just keep that distance. Like, yeah, bro, I see you. I see you, bro. I see you. I see you. Nah, that's you, bro. That's you, bro. Nah, that's not me. That's you, bro. And I get it. It's hard for us to take a compliment from one another, but we need to learn how to take a compliment and know that it's all right to be complimented by another brother. It's all right to be doing good. It's all right to say, thank you, bro. I appreciate that. Wow, man, I thank you for seeing the work that I've been putting in. It's been a fight, but I thank you. I appreciate that, bro. Right? And so when it comes to conflict, we know that women love to talk. They will talk it all the way out, right? They talk and they process while they talk together, whether it's one or two or in a group. Us, we avoid it or we move on without discussion, right? And something that I want to challenge here, right? Because I really feel like that us as men, we feel like, women do all the talking and we don't do all that talking. Truth be told, being around a lot of men, working with men have a lot to say. We have a lot to say. I've been around men who, it's times they chill, but when they get to talking, they talk. And it could be about whatever. And I'm not talking about sports or women and all of that stuff. I'm talking about like just talking about anything. Even how they feel or their mind or what they're going through, they go. And that's why I think that we need more spaces and more men need to show up. Because we can talk. I don't even like talking, but when I get around some brothers, I talk. But sometimes I get comfortable and be like, all right, I ain't got nothing else I want to say. I just want to chill. Not because I want to hide, but I told y'all, I don't like talking. I enjoy this and, doing my thing, but I like chilling, man. I'm going to just be honest, right? So let us remember, right, to check in on our brothers. Stay strong in the brotherhood. Let us begin to build a consistent circle with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 friends. Build a group chat, a Bible study, a men's encouragement group, right? Something. I might just start that for y'all, all right? Speak life into one another and show up. But don't just show up when things are going wrong. Show up on the daily. Because a lot of times we feel like we don't need that, but it helps a lot, man. Like I just feel like we need to move away from this perfection, not perfection thing, but just thinking men don't need as much, right? Like we're built to be tough and strong, but that's not all we're built for, right? We're not built for just being tough and strong. We are nurturers too. We are lovers too, right? It's not to say that we're nurturing a brother or something like that, but I'm just saying like in general, whether it's our wife or our kids, or a little sister or, whatever it may be, right? But we need to stop thinking that things are just for women and that they're not for men, right? So, man, that's all we got for today. It's your time to win, brothers. It's your time to win, men. But that winning is in community. And it's not to say that you are losing because you don't have community, but it's time for you to win concerning your community, and watch how in other areas of your life you'll begin to win like never before. the right circle, the right people, the right community is very, very, very important. And so I had some notes, but I think that that's it for today. All right. Yeah. So my brothers, community is not some extra chore work. It is essential. Lock arms with some brothers, go to war with some brothers, fight with some brothers, go through adversity with some brothers, win with some brothers, live with some brothers. Some of us need that story of having friends that we grow old with. I know sometimes we grow and outgrow people and seasons change and life change, but come on, man. What happened to having a friend where that ain't my friend, that's my brother. You tell your son, that's your uncle right there. That's your cousin. Then they find out as they get older, we're not really related, but we might as well have been, right? That's my brother. That's your Uncle Tony. That's your Uncle John. That's your Uncle B right there. Like, we need that. Men, we thrive that way, right? It's not to say you can't be a strong man alone, but don't think your life is to be lived alone. Come out of the closet. Come out of the darkness. Come out of that shelter. Come out of that rain and walk towards the sunrise of strong, masculine, powerful brothers. And we're going to come out on the other side victorious. So that's the episode for today. I'm your host, Michael Jenkins. And until next time, peace.